Yeah. So do you want to hear what the secret of the universe was?
No. No.
Yeah. So do you
You
want to hear
know.
what the secret of the universe was?
Oh, right. Oh, since you're here, yeah.
What were you about to say, actually?
No.
No?
No. You blew
Okay.
my mind, dude. Yeah.
It's not, but check this out. So it's not like an actual secret.
Oh.
But so I'm still figuring out how to deliver this because it's still kind of new. Although I have been working on it for a very long time, I had sort of the realization that, like, oh, you know what I'm talking about? I'm like, oh, I get it now. Like,
Yeah.
it all kind of like I've been doing this the whole time, and I just realized it, you know.
Sure.
And so learning, it's like, well, what, how do you do learning? What is it? And the whole thing can be overwhelming if you think about it in detail, because it can get circular. Like, what are you learning for? Why are you learning? How do you best do it? Do you there's literally thousands of different theories on it, and so, or models. People have their own systems or whatever, and everybody kind of does this, and so I've like struggled with it for a really long time.
Are you telling me that you
Um,
discovered anxiety? Is that the secret to the universe?
no. I'm saying I've figured out how to learn things, or like
Okay.
how let's say how learning design can be more uh, effective and efficient than that's not even the right word. I said I don't even want to use those words, right? Effective and efficient. That's not even the right. I feel like that's already taking us down the wrong path in as far as thinking of like what you would do any of this for.
Thinking like fruitful, like
Yes, yeah,
kind of
fruitful is a good word.
what you can truly kind of get out of it. Well,
Right.
even that seems a little, but yeah, okay.
Like if
I'm
you
with you.
wanted to be, if you want to be an artist or something, right? What would actually allow you to do what it is you actually want to do? Not like become famous or make millions of dollars or whatever. And often that's like what people think that they want, right? And they want to do. I want to be an actor so I can be famous or something, But it's like, but if you want to be an actor or you want to be an artist or you want to be a scientist or you want to be anything, it doesn't matter. Um, there's a way to do that, which is like in alignment with who you are, right? With what you are, which is human, right? We're all humans. Um, and maybe the nature of reality in general, right? And so I start from the ontology that I have, which you're familiar with, right?
I learned that word the
Ontology,
first episode. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
which
remember.
is which is I'm just going to reiterate it just in case. So it's like it's what you think reality is, right? Like the core fundamental, where you're starting from, and so from mine, which is consciousness, right? Experience itself. It's awareness of experience, right? It gets a little crazy and it's not important for the actual practice itself. So I'm kind of skip it. But so when I start from there and I kind of build everything out, now I have like a coherent model in my mind of like what's actually useful, and like what is the point. And so it's really the emphasis that's missing. Let me start there. That's largely missing is the emphasis on the cultivation of the imaginative mind space. We're fundamentally lacking. When I say we, I mean when you go to school, if you think of that, right? I'm not saying people haven't figured this out. I'm saying that if you walk into a school, the idea is still largely that I have this thing and I can give it to you, right? And then you're going to have it, and now you have correct information. And that's sort of what we think learning is, right?
Yeah, teaching monkeys how to make fire, right?
Yeah. But what sort of struck me, and maybe a good place to really start talking about it, is in a lot of ways, what you are is this boundary point, this perceived boundary point between two worlds. You have your felt sense of the external world and you have the felt sense of your inner world, right? And you're literally at this boundary point between those two things. And if you take a certain perspective, you can see that actually what humans are doing is they're learning how to take things from this inner world, cultivate them, number one, and bring them into this outer world. And there's an interplay that happens. There's a feedback and there's a back and forth. And you're at the boundary, right? And so what learning really is about establishing these kinds of relationships that allow for this to happen, right? Both in the felt sense of the external and in the internal. And what's largely missing is that cultivation of these mental imaginative spaces that are required for nearly anything you can think of. And so you just pick anything at all. You're going to need some sort of mind space attached to what you're doing. And so like really great examples are, the easier examples are things like mathematics or science or art, right? So in math, you're literally holding, creating, and using, modifying, changing, manipulating these abstract mental structures in your mind. And that is what you're doing, right? And there's a playfulness and there's a curiosity and there's a growth of this climbing up this abstraction where it's really difficult and it doesn't make any sense, and then suddenly it starts to become more real to you, and then things like 2 + 2 become very obvious, right? But that exists inside of you. It's not something external. There's an interplay, and it can be like helpful to like play with blocks or something, and then that sort of helps you internally model these abstract ideas of numbers, right? Or whatever. But it's that space. It's holding things in that space, being able to bring things into creation from that space into your mind, right? And having them seems to be the key that we don't actually ever teach anyone to do. It's not taught in school. You'll never find any class that teaches you to do that. No. Yet that's what is required for you to be able to do any of it. And so, and then it's sort of like this crafting of the intuition, this imaginative intuition, this mind space. You have to have this here, and then you kind of test against the external world, right? And you see, how does it line up? And then you play back and forth, right? And then what happens is you cultivate this really strong intuition. And so a mathematician can look at something and they'd be like, that's not right. I don't think that's right. And they may not articulate exactly why they don't think that, but they have this whole abstract mind space that you don't have access to, right? And they can feel that thing's off, right? And so, and they have to play with it and whatever, but do you see what I'm saying? And so that's really what's happening, right? And then the symbolic expressions that we use are consequences of these inner felt ideas trying to be brought into the external world to be shared, right? So it's not the mathematical formula that's the thing. It's not at all. It's a consequence of what is the thing, right? And unfortunately, we'll get people who can't do that, right, are being told to teach it. And so they think that the symbolic external thing is this thing that you have to learn. And that can be effective for certain things. It's not like nothing is going to come up in your mind. Like you can learn times tables, right? And it's not like that doesn't exist. It does. But is it the same as being able to hold all of these things in your mind and being able to feel what numbers are like and manipulate them and move them around? And
no, you know what I mean? And I mean, what it sounds like to me is when you start talking about all that is that there's just really been excuse me, there's just been such a priority on timing, you know, and like and people just aren't given enough time to sit with ideas, you know. And if you spend too long sitting with it, then you kind of miss the bus on, you know, other kind of external driving factors of why you're in school in the first place, right? So right. I agree with that. Now people need to marinate, dude. Like all the people I ever met growing up that were good at at any subject really are people that did things with it outside of school, and
Hmm.
the ones that I always saw were not good, were the ones that tried to, ingest it as fast as possible, use it,
Right.
dump it, and they always hated it too. They couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
Like they hate that process. So I agree with all that. Um, and I think I understand what you mean too about the feedback between internal and external, right?
Yeah.
Um, in my head, it's just it's just what I just said. It's just exploring it outside of required, you know, spoon feeding kind of existence on a subject, right?
Right.
Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah. So I mean, like maybe here's like a more tangible example. So a baby, right? Um, when they want to learn how to walk, right?
Mhm.
They have some felt inner sense of intention to walk, and maybe it's not articulated in clear thoughts because they're really young and they don't have. I don't remember what my thoughts were like when I was that little.
That was FOMO.
Um,
Everybody else is walking except you, nerd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's some sort of an inner compulsion, right?
Mhm.
To want to mimic or copy this behavior, or an internal intrinsic drive that just motivates you to want to try to do this thing, right? And so what's happening, I think, is that they have this idea, and I say idea loosely, like I said, I don't know what their actual thoughts are, but they have
Mhm.
an internal motivation to do this thing. And then they kind of like are like, I can do it, right? And so what do? Is they try to like stand up, and they immediately start getting a lot of feedback from their felt external world,
Yeah.
and that helps them craft how to navigate this situation. And so what are they actually doing? There's a large number of relationships that are happening. And so when babies are little enough, let me give you another example really quick. Babies are little enough, they don't even know that their hands are their own hands. And so they'll scratch their faces, right? When they're little
Mhm.
babies, and you put mittens on them so they don't scratch their faces, because
Huh.
they don't fundamentally understand that they're the ones doing it. And you can actually see them get angry at their hands sometimes. And they'll be
Huh.
like, they don't get it. I'm not joking. Like, so they don't
Yeah, yeah.
understand it, right? Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right, to think about it. And so that's something that is cultivated and develops inside of you, is this relationship that you have with this, and that's an internal world that's also interplaying with this external world. Now, secret is I don't think they're actually different, but these two
Right,
worlds.
right, right.
But that's neither here nor there, and you don't need to accept that. So, anyways, um, so they start trying to walk and they start trying to move, and there's this feedback that happens, and so the intent and the intuition that they have and the imaginative mind space ideas that they have, I think, are crafted and come into relationship with the external world. And so it's this balance of these two things. So this baby had something that never existed in the universe before it, and it came through the baby, and it was walk. I want to walk. And that thought, that thing, was only ever inside the baby. It didn't exist as a tangible thing ever, right? And this baby brings that thing into creation, into the external shared space that we all have together, right? And
Hmm.
so that's what I mean by this interplay between these two things. And that's crafted and that's cultivated. And then eventually walking becomes so simple you never think about it, right? But if you looked at that baby and you had no sense of like how humans grow or anything, you had no concept of that, and you just saw this baby struggling, and you're like, that baby's gonna run one day, you would be like, no, it's not. It can't run. The baby's, it's never gonna look at it. It can barely even move its legs. It's not gonna walk. And I think that that's what we do when we think that we're not good at math, right? And we're like, oh yeah, no, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. I'm not, I scored really low on an intelligence test. I'm not meant for this.
Mhm.
That's what we're doing, is we're looking at a baby that can't walk and saying you're never going to walk, and that's just not true. Um, and now sometimes babies can't walk, right? Very, very rarely there's like problems, but nearly everybody in a healthy, normal, or around the standard deviation, all those babies are going to walk, right?
Yeah.
And how is that happening? It's about this back and forth, right? This feedback loop between their internal felt sense and then the external um, interactions that they have. And there's relationships involved in both, right? Internal and external.
Yeah.
And so fundamentally, that's what I think, that we're at this sort of a boundary level between these two worlds. That's one way to look at it. And so that's what has to be emphasized, is this internal mind space and how it relates to this external world. And so you cultivate this sense, this felt sense inside of you, to match or to it's not even like a matching game. I'm not saying it's like a computer that, it's not like necessarily even like a neural net. I'm saying that um, you build these things inside of you, right? And now
Right.
this already exists in a lot of different learning systems, these ideas, right? But yet we still don't emphasize this at all. And so I think one thing that's sort of troublesome is that a lot of these theories still have implicit ideas of physicalism where they think that matter is real, and that you're like, well, why would that be a problem? Because it kind of gives you this sense of certainty that doesn't exist. And then you kind of feel like I can give you this thing that is a truth and have you learn this truth, and that's what you're supposed to aim at, right?
Yeah, it's
When
super
in
comforting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it doesn't actually work that way, though. That's the unfortunate part. It's that we kind of too rigidly constrain the system when you do want to constrain the system, right? Such that you get outcomes, right? And that's actually that's the main part of what someone who's helping someone else learn does is to constrain the environment. That's one way to put it, such that the right outcomes, the ones that you want, arise, right?
Mhm.
But so if I have this sort of idea that there's this ultimate truth and that math is exactly right, then I might just try to teach you the formula, right?
Yeah.
And then have that, and then just apply what I just said to that, right? It's like, no, this is, and then you hold this formula in your mind, and it's like, okay, um, but the thing is that that formula isn't the thing. It was the process that allowed this person to try to share this formula.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is the thing. And it's a process, and it's not a truth.
I guess,
Does that make
yeah,
sense?
that is one thing that always bugged me is when I would see a formula is to me it's just a representation of a lot of experience
Mm-hmm.
put that someone put on a page, you know?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's super useful and it
Yeah.
communicates very important things and it it allows for quick iteration and production and development and stuff for like applicable things, practical things, right?
Yeah.
But but no, as far as humans are concerned, I've always had a problem with that. Yeah, I never
Yeah.
liked that because you will forget a formula.
Yeah.
It's not it's not centric to you. You didn't build it yourself, right?
Right.
Build a computer. Guess what? I learned how a computer works. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
it's like you buy one, you have no idea. It's
Right.
yeah, it's the same thing. I
That's
feel like
the
I'm stripping down your idea quite a bit, but I feel
no,
like
no, I
it's
mean that's really like the core of it is it has to be highly, so one thing that already exists and is really common in like sports education would be like ecological dynamics would say that like it needs to be highly representative. So like you're saying,
mm,
if I want to know what a computer is, I should build one or work on it. You know what I mean? Which
mm,
is, well, like they would agree, right? Um, and so yeah, that's true. And I completely agree. I just think that so let me give you an example of what this looks like, and then maybe it'll make it easier for me to explain. I guess like the difference of what I'm saying versus what already exists. So let's say we take like Jaden wants to learn how to make video games, right?
mm.
And so Jaden's my son, which you know, but maybe they don't. So my son wants to make video games, and so we kind of struggled a lot with like how to approach it, and he tried a bunch of different things. The problem was is that he was very focused on making the video game and having a working video game. He's a Pong is what we were trying to make, right?
Yeah,
And he was able to do that a lot, but what he was doing was looking things up online and copying and pasting because he wanted something that worked, right? And he
yeah,
didn't really want to troubleshoot all the code. And so, number one, that tells you that it's too challenging, right? It
mm,
was too difficult. Number two, he was very focused on having some outcome and not on the process itself, which the process is what you actually want to build. And so, like, if we're a musician, it's not having some magnum opus or whatever, some grand work that you finally finished and that was your crowning achievement. It's actually just more about like being able to play and create music, right?
yeah. The
It's the
process, yeah.
process of doing that, and then having good taste, and then understanding what good music even feels like, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so how do you do that with like programming, right? And so, well, we decided, let's just go to raw C++ code, and then you try to build it this way, and that was still too challenging. Um, so what we do now is you have a very clear task. You have enough information that you can look at that allows you to start performing the task. And then once it's completed, there's like several questions about what you just did that try to make certain things clear to them. So that they are asked the question,
Mm.
and then they kind of have to answer it. And then once they have that task over, they have to change what they did, right? Um, and then you kind of move on to the next thing that's slightly more challenging. And then you keep doing that until you have a finished game, right? And then when the game is finished, now we throw all that away, and now you redo it again from memory,
Yeah.
the entire game, and then change it. And so what has to happen is that he has to have all of these things mentally represented inside of him, and he has to be able to feel them and know what they're going to do, right?
Hmm.
And he has to actually make that work in a real world situation, right? And so there's a lot of feedback. And then over time, what we would do is expand that into, you start reading other people's code now, and you start getting a sense of what good code feels like, right? What does it feel like for this works really nicely? Why does it work nicely? Do that from memory. Write me a similar thing that you saw yesterday, and so you keep trying to do this thing. So why is that it forces this cultivation to happen, right? It doesn't allow him to have any room to not do it, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's also not so it's not so hard. It can't be too hard that people feel hopeless, because especially if they've been um, I don't like the word, but like traumatized from school, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
About like meeting some standard and being judged by what they're doing.
Sure.
If they have that, they have a pretty low self-esteem, and they're gonna like not want to explore because it's dangerous to explore.
Yeah.
So they're gonna try to get it, which is also why he was copy and pasting a lot, right? Because he wants to have a working game. He thinks that's the point,
Right.
or he felt like that was the point. He doesn't now. He kind of gets it now, but he's learning. Uh, so it allows for the process to happen where they have to have this inside of themselves, right? And then kind of bring this out. So he's learning a language, literally how to speak to a computer, which is the external thing, right? But he has
Mhm.
to have that language in here, right? And it kind of forces that. Vanessa wants to write a book, right? So what do you do there? Like, how do you? Well, for one, she already wrote a story. She
She
just
wants to
published her
what?
first. She wants to write a book. Well, she wants to be a writer.
Oh, I thought I said ride a pony. I was like, well, there's kind of only one way to do that. I feel.
Yeah, you
You
just get on the pony.
just get on the horse, man. All right. All right. I'm
No,
with you.
she wants to be a writer, though.
Okay. Cool.
And so what and she published her first story on a website that lets you just publish, and other people can read it.
Sweet.
Yeah. So that was sort of the first thing. And then I think that was mostly just to kind of like get over this hump of feeling like you can't do it,
Yeah. You
But,
just got to break the ice, dude. Just put
right.
it out. Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
so
that's
that really
solid.
helped there. But then
Yeah.
how do you actually learn how to be a good writer, right? And
Yeah.
so there's a couple of things. If you rely on people's feedback, that can really lead you astray, right? Can you
Mhm.
imagine a musician trying to rely on what everyone else thinks about their music?
You're right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
There would
just
never
never
be
going to
any
work.
new music, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
you can't do that, right? That's like maybe the last thing that you should consider, right? So, well, what do you do, right? Well, how do you develop this internal space that I'm talking about? What does that even mean, right? And then I kind of realized when I was reading about one of the most famous musician instructors. She instructed composers. Really famous Bollinger. You know who that is? Does that ring a
A
bell?
composer?
Yeah. Well, she taught composers.
Oh no, I don't know.
No. Okay.
Bollinger.
She was a
No.
French. Yeah, she was a French musician who taught other musicians. But what she would have them do was she would play something, and then they had to reconstruct that from just hearing it once, and they had to write it all out, any part of it that she asked for, and then recompose it and play it.
Mm.
And they had to do that constantly. And that was just one aspect of what she did, right? And then I was like, I used to hate things like that because I'm like, you should never force people to memorize things, because I'm going back to like, oh, don't memorize the formula because
Right,
that's
right,
useless, right? But that's
right.
not what she was doing. She wasn't having them memorize any formulas. Number one, these were all like very famous works, right? So it's not like crappy music. She's like picking high quality music. So this cultivates your ability to hold all of this music in you, and then you have to test it against the external world, right, against
Hmm.
what was actually there, and like you kind of go back and forth, so it hones your musical memory but your musical ear also. And these people turned into straight beasts, you know what I mean? Like they could hear any song once and then write the whole composition out, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Freaking with anything. And it was
yeah,
like, I mean, they're freaking monsters, right? Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
crazy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And they also had to write their own music, and they were also doing all this other stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, that forces this internal sense to happen. Like you can't not, like that's literally what they were doing. They were just monsters that had just, oh, like, yeah, I can do the whole thing. And if
Mhm.
we watched that, we would be like, that's incredible. How that we would think that it was impossible. We would think it was like a joke, like we're being someone's joking with us. Like, can you imagine like at a street square, you play a song for somebody and then they can play it again by
Oh,
themselves? You'd
yeah.
be like, that's not real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
No.
people, yeah. But that's what they did, right? And so it was really challenging, and then there was other stuff too. But so I was like, oh, well, yeah. First of all, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
And it's not copying a formula. It's literally, and they had to alter it too sometimes and change the way it looked and or sounded, and do all kinds of other stuff, right? And so that alteration aspect is in there that I really like, right? Which, because what does that do is it immediately kind of shows you what's working and what isn't working, right? When you change a little
Yeah.
bit here and then it doesn't work, and you kind of get a really strong signal of failure, a really strong signal of success, right? And so there's a lot of like, and then it also, so it's kind of like plopping somebody down in, and they have to start immediately feeling around, right? And that is
Mhm.
how you learn a lot really quickly. So that was there. And then I was like, okay, well, we could do the same thing for writing, right? I mean, you watch a scene of a movie, and now you have to write that scene out, right, with prose,
Yeah.
and it forces you to kind of take this scene and have it in your mind, right,
Mhm.
and then translate all of these things that a movie gets to do that you don't get to do when you write, right?
Yeah.
Sound, audio, visuals, all this stuff, you don't get any of that, and so you have to kind of, and then you can also change it, right? So then you can not only try to rewrite it, you could rewrite it using only action, right? And so you can't have any internal monologues. You just describe action, or then you go and only use internal monologues, or you take a perspective from another character who's in the scene, right? You see what I'm
That's a
saying?
that's a pretty fucking smart idea, dude.
Well, guess what? I mean, that was what I was thinking based on like just that idea. But I
Yeah.
look into it, and guess what? This is an old technique.
Oh, really?
It's yeah, this existed forever.
Makes sense.
Uh,
I'm gonna
yeah,
guess that it works. Yeah.
yes. Like
Yeah.
Robert Louis Stevenson was famous for this. The guy
Mhm.
Treasure Island. Um,
Oh, okay, yeah.
he would just sit in his room as a boy and try to like. He had a really funny name for it. He called it aping. I don't know
Aping?
why he called aping. I don't know why he
Yeah.
called it that, because he's
Uh,
pretending to be like them. You know what I mean?
okay, okay,
So
yeah.
he would read like some fame. I don't know who was before him, but he would read some famous author, and then he would just try to like copy them, right?
Huh.
From
Yeah,
memory.
yeah.
Benjamin Franklin would do this. So Benjamin Franklin would read a story, and then he would write a few sentences to prompt his memory, and then a couple of days later or whatever, he would write the story from memory and then check to see how close he was and then fix it. He would also take a story, turn it, or take a poem, turn it into a story, and then get rid of the poem, and then take that story that he wrote like a month later and then write another poem from it and see how close he was.
God, man. No wonder he
Yeah.
had so many women, dude. Dude was killing it, man.
so so I'm like, this is it. And you see a lot of people do this naturally, right? So a lot of authors, what they start out as is they're writing short stories, like fan fiction type stuff usually, you know what I mean? And so they're
Mhm.
already kind of doing this. But what would this do for a writer is it would hone craft their internal mind space against really high quality works, right? It
Yeah.
would also force creativity, because if I say I'm going to take the perspective of this character who's in the scene but they don't have any dialogue, and now I have to write it from their eyes, right? So not only do you have to translate all of these things that you don't get to use, but you have to go, and then you can also do the same thing. So if it's a book and a movie, then you can go to the book and then do the same thing with the prose, right?
Yeah.
And then you rewrite it yourself and you go back and forth. And eventually the goal would be is like you can watch a movie once and then you can literally write the whole story out, like the whole script out yourself. and change things and alter things. If you can do that, you're a beast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're probably going to be pretty good at writing, right? Because you're not only are you going to develop the taste of what makes a good story, right? Because you kind of have to, because you're testing it. Again, there's this feedback, right? Like if you go back, you rewrote somebody's chapter, you go back and read it, and you're doing high quality sources, like you're doing Jane Austen or you're doing like Hemingway or something like that, and
Yeah.
you know what a good story is, right? And you're like, yeah, okay, but it's also your own thing, right? And so then
No,
you
it's
also, yeah,
yeah, it's cool too because in that process you naturally also you just end up getting more, what would you say? Not like more appreciation out of high quality work, right? Because then when you
yes,
see something, especially if it's something new, like you can pick up on those little details that
yes,
only someone else like you would
yeah,
probably find out, right?
yeah,
No, that's really cool.
yeah,
I I would say one thing about feedback though, because feedback is tricky, right?
hmm,
Because say you're at that level, right? But you put stuff out,
yeah,
people don't like it, right?
yeah,
I will say there is one strategy to that I always heard that I liked, and it was actually from game development. Um, and they were always talking about how you should put out, like, put your game out, have people play it, have people look at it, like early and often, try to get as much information back. And they're like, you're not listening for what they're saying you should make the game be or anything.
yeah,
It's like you're listening for when they give you a problem, like listen to the problem because
hmm,
if for something that's purely designed to be entertainment or captivating or whatever, it's like if it's not one of those things, there's something to be improved or something to be reworked. You know, don't listen to how they tell you how to fix it
yeah,
because it's going to turn your game into a mess, right? But
yeah.
yeah, no. So I think there is a way to do feedback, but it's very careful and very um, you got to start at a good place, right?
Yeah. Well, when I'm talking about like feedback, I really meant more against the original work in that specific context because like I don't know how she's going to get real feedback from real people yet. We haven't figured
Yeah.
that out because I'm not like an expert author, right? So I
Yeah, I
can't
don't
actually
really.
help her do that. Now I can come up with this concept based on my sort of model, right? My sort of framework. I can come up with this sort of concept, and the fact that it is historically was accurate was really cool. So I kind of know that it wasn't just something. I mean, I did come up with it kind of, but like it wasn't like you know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah,
probably is gonna work, right? And if you just think about it, like you're like, yeah, that's gonna work
yeah,
because
it's gonna. It can't
do
hurt,
that. I
right?
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, you can
it's not gonna hurt.
write a. If you watch a movie and you can write a whole book about it in a week, from memory, that's
Yeah,
pretty. You're pretty probably, you know. But
you're
and
gonna
then
do
there's
all
more
right.
stuff, and that's just like one thing. It's not going to be all of it. There's going to be her own writing and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
But it's representative and it cultivates this inner space. It hones the intuition against higher quality things. And so because I'm like, how do I teach her all of the things, the words and the way you say the way you say
yeah.
things to
The
sound nice. Like, how do I
nuances.
do that
Yeah,
without like just telling her what to do? And then I was
yeah,
like, oh, it's just going to be this because I still get hung up on things like that. Like, how do you avoid just not telling people exactly what to do? Because that's what you
yeah,
want to do a lot of the time, right? Because it's shorter, which it is. It's more direct and it can lead to a faster outcome, but it will lead to you just taking away from their ability to um, craft that for themselves.
yeah,
And so you're really not even trying to get any answer for them. You want to kind of allow for them to build their own thing and answer those questions themselves.
hmm,
Uh, and so that's sort of the emphasis. And then I was doing this with, you can do this with physics also. And so this is harder a little bit, but um, you know, it applies to anything, and it's naturally what we already do. And if you watch kids, what they do is they kind of mess around and and they kind of like if they're trying to build something, they just play around with it a whole bunch of times, and they're iterating and they're testing it against their own experience, right? And they're like, what about this? What about that? What about that? And eventually, if they have persistence, they'll get it right. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And especially if they don't feel another important part of this that's been left out entirely is that learning really can only take place when people feel safe and loved and comfortable and want to play. And so if they feel judged or insecure or like they're in danger in any way, like they're threatened because they might, if they feel like they are going to be under threat if they don't perform, learning takes a steep curve down. And there's a lot of research to support that. And I've always known that. But
Oh yeah.
um, the most successful, there's one example of a person who I love to think about sometimes is there was a high school football coach in California. Do you know the story that I'm going to get to? No,
No, I don't think
no.
football. No,
Yes, football. Yep.
no.
Bob Ludick. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Lodeker. He was a high school football coach, and he won 151 games in a row, and it was like the longest winning streak in American football history. It was like 7 or 8 years of winning every single game. He won 399 games and lost like 20 something in a 20-year career. Yeah.
Couldn't get that 400, huh?
Several of his players went on to play in the NFL, and they weren't like a special. It was a Catholic school, a private Catholic school, but it wasn't like something crazy where they were recruiting. In fact, when he started, they had never had a winning season in like 20 years before that.
Okay.
So it wasn't like and then after he took over, they immediately had a winning season and then continued to only have winning seasons forever.
Okay.
And then he won like over 20 state championships. All right, so this is really cool, right? It's like, wow, that is incredible. And he also refused to go to other like universities. I mean, he could have made way more money by going to like college,
yeah.
But he never wanted to because he just wanted to work with the kids. That's all he wanted to do. So so you're like, well, what was he doing that was working, right? Well, there were a couple of practical things where they had a very simple game plan, right? That was easy enough for the high school kids to grasp, and they just drilled all year long. So they practiced every week all year, right? So persistence was one thing that was key, but he also had a really adaptable planning strategy, which is more in line with what I would like, where they had like basically the coach's job was to, number one, provide positive feedback to the kids. So they weren't allowed to like say bad things like what they're doing wrong. They were only allowed to give them positive feedback on what they were doing right. And if whatever the issue was, it was the coach's job to design the drills for that day to match what he saw as the deficiencies, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Which is also something I would really like, right? And it was simple enough for the kids to grasp, which I also like. He also really emphasized decision making, and so a lot of times in high school football, the coach makes all the plays, right?
Yeah.
And the kids don't really do much of it. He would only ever help in the beginning, and then he expected them to make all the choices for the rest of the game. And so he really force them to cultivate an inner space of understanding, right? Or they have to kind of test choices, right? And so that's there. But the number one thing is, he said the reason that we're so successful is because this team is built on love. I'm not joking.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's some Remember the Titans shit, dude.
Yeah. There's a movie about him. Yeah. There's a movie about him. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. It's really good. When the Game Stands Tall or something like that. It's really good. So every week they would have a meeting at a player's house. So they would go to a player's house and have dinner together. And then they would also it was a Catholic school, so they would also do like prayer and stuff like that together, prayer group, whatever. But they would talk to each other about their life and their emotions and their feelings. And your job as a player, what he would tell people when they got there, your job as a player is to be here for everyone else. And so that's how they all saw their role. And then also every Thursday they would also say what their plans were for that week for practice. And he said, there's no such thing as perfect, but there's perfect practice. And so you would just come up with some plan for perfect practice that week, right? And then they would all kind of like figure out, and then they would hold each other accountable. But they all felt, and he emphasized this, they have to feel safe and they have to feel loved.
Yeah.
Or else none of this works. And I'm like, yeah, that's 100%. That's 100%.
Perfect sense, actually. Yeah.
Right. And so then what does learning become? Learning becomes the cultivation of the human. It's the cultivation of the human's mind, body, and spirit, right? And however you want to see the distinction between those three, it's not relevant, but the cultivation of the human being, right?
No.
And so it's not about like learning how to do this activity more efficiently, or whatever. It's really just cultivating you as a human being, and it's this inner mind space. And then it's interaction with the external world, and that all works better if you feel safe, loved, and playful, right?
Hmm.
And it allows you to grow these things, and so that's sort of the point, right? And that's what schools should be. I think it was originally that's like more how Plato and Aristotle would have saw their places, is like the cultivation of the human soul, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're here to cultivate yourself, mind, body, and spirit. I don't know if they had those distinctions, but actually they probably did. I don't know, but and so that's really the point. And it's like, here's the cool thing: when you do it like this, they can't cheat without. There's no cheating. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? There's no
Yeah.
way to cheat, because the only point for you to do it is so that way you can do
Yeah,
it, right?
you've also got no one else to blame. You know what I mean? Like, it's a
Yeah.
lot easier to not try as hard if you know if like you're like, well, it's not my fault. You know,
Right.
he taught me weird. He only showed up 3 times. You know, whatever. It's like, but nah. Internalizing, pointing the camera back towards yourself. Actually, that guy was full. He was full of a lot of cool little sayings, huh?
Yeah.
Point a purpose of a player. I mean, that's true for any group, right? And it's like the reason you're
Yeah.
there working with other people is to be there for the other people, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. He would say, like, you have to trust that I'm going to be there for you, and I have to trust that you're going to be here for me. And
yeah,
that was like how he built the whole thing. And yeah, he really emphasized that, and just really impressive. I like, um, a lot of very elite people that do the best in anything, they often have like these sorts of approaches, like Phil Knight, pretty similar sort of. He didn't emphasize the love as much, and he was like the Zen master, is what they would call him. But like,
hmm,
um, he did emphasize like that sort of cohesion in the team as
no,
being primary, But he did push them hard also. It wasn't like, So, but so does this guy, right? It wasn't. That's the thing, is that people are perfectly willing to push themselves when they feel safe to do so, right?
yeah, no. If they
And it's
trust,
also something
yeah,
they want to do, right?
yeah,
Like, I want to do this. I want to be a football player. I'm gonna be here, show up, and push myself hard. You make me feel bad about doing that, and I'm not gonna want to be here anymore,
yeah.
right? So you yell at me because I didn't do something right. I'm not gonna like you now.
It-
You know what I mean? I might listen, but
yeah.
I'm not gonna feel as good about being.
Oh, dude,
Um,
that's how every. I mean, yeah, they say in the military if you don't follow orders, you'll go to jail, treason, whatever.
yeah,
People don't listen all the time, and if they don't
yeah,
like you, they're not going to listen, dude. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter what rank you got. Well, to an extent, if you got enough, yeah, everyone kind of listens. But no, I mean that was the biggest thing, which is why I think me and some of the people that I hung out with did all right in the military, is because we came into it older and stuff. I was like with a guy that was a year older than I was, and 2 guys that were like ex infantry, also been in
yeah,
like already 10 years, and now they're doing intel because their bodies are broken and they just want to sit down,
yeah,
and but they knew how to talk to people to make them want to do the things that they were going to need them to do, you know
yeah,
because it's like you could all see the writing on the wall. Like, you're gonna have a shitty day, it's gonna be 16 hours, it's raining and it's hot at the same time, you're doing something you don't know why, it's taking forever,
yeah,
and yeah, if you haven't figured out how to how to make them want to be in the same place as you are, it's gonna be a longer day, dude, every
right,
time. Yeah, but that's just coaching, I guess. But
yeah,
understanding, learning, that's
yeah,
yeah. Nah, dude, it's funny. I was delivering something to the post office today, and there were 2 old folks talking at the counter. I didn't have anywhere else to be, so I was just kind of hanging out, listening to the
hmm
conversation. And she started talking about how her daughter was homeschooling her kid, and how, like, just spending time with her kid, like, it fixed the problems they were having in the marriage. It was like just bringing everybody together, and they were like, and she's going to graduate like 2 years early. She's like, she's going to keep her in homeschool the entire time.
yeah,
And I was just standing back there. I was like, yeah, no shit. It's like, oh, yeah, regular school system's such a mess right now, dude. But I don't know. I saw the numbers too the other day. They were talking about how well, I don't like looking at raw stats on, test scores and pass rates and all that. But um, where am I even going with this? That's just depressing.
You know what I say? I say, what's this test supposed to tell me? What's the meaning of it?
Yeah. Well, they can't tell you because they can't read. But
Like, what's the point? What's the point of it? What's it supposed to mean? I
yeah,
don't know what it means. I don't know what tests mean. Like,
yeah,
it tells you that they had difficulty or they had a good time answering those questions. I'm not sure what it's supposed to mean. In fact, I mean, there's like a big thing. As soon as you make a test, some sort of a metric, it ceases to have any use. And that's like people just know this, right? We do know this.
go. What do you mean?
Oh, you don't know that? Oh, okay.
No, no.
No, when
You
you
say
make
we.
something, when you make a test, like a metric for success,
Uh,
it loses all of its validity because then people just fit themselves to the test.
oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
So, like in the context of my model, it would be like um, if you make a test, the entryway into something that you want to get to, they're going to shortcut their understanding by trying to memorize the shortest path. It's like copying and paste. So now I'm incentivized to use an LLM to write the paper or to memorize a bunch of things right before I walk into the test or to cheat on the test.
Yep.
That's what you incentivize. Whereas, like, if I don't even know why we need to do any of this anymore because the major universities, they're not even like the beacons of learning they used to be, or maybe I think a long time ago they probably were,
Yeah.
or better at what they were doing. If you look at like elite educators that had produced other, like J.J. Thompson or like Rutherford, famous physicists, they all produced Nobel Prize laureates from their students, right?
Mm.
They were Nobel Prize laureates and also produced Nobel, but they really emphasized what you were doing, right?
Yeah.
And so it was like with the research, right? And so they taught people, they didn't teach anything, is they just had an environment where people learned how to become researchers, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know why we need to get, so yeah. So I hear like, oh, test scores are going down. I don't think the tests are meaningful. I'm not sure why you're having kids do them in the first place. What is it supposed to tell you? It tells you how well your system is doing according to its own metrics.
Yeah. I mean,
Who gives a shit?
It doesn't. Well,
You know what I mean?
I'll tell you why. It's because every office job I've ever worked in the last 20 years has always had a clear objective of what your expectations were. And it really didn't matter if you went higher. It mattered a lot if you didn't meet them,
Yeah.
But I guarantee you that's why, And it's because if you can't meet, performance metrics on a job, can't write 5 reports, can't, whatever, by the end of the week, then what good are you to the business, I don't know. It's bad. It's a bad approach.
I like Elon Musk's business model. Like I don't know a ton about it, but I do know that he could give a shit less about any of the nonsense, and he wants to know. He's far more concerned about like what people are actually doing.
So
like
I
what's
feel like
working,
that.
what's not.
I feel like that was true back in the day because I also really like how he kind of approached startups and how he found people to work with him and how he made all these things. I thought it was really cool. But then he started doing stupid shit like if you if you didn't write 1,000 lines of code a day, then you were gonna get fired. And you're like,
oh, yeah, do that too.
Well, okay, saying he did it, I don't know. It sounds like a crazy CEO thing to kind of do, but
yeah.
And then you're like, well, that's a terrible incentive. I mean, you just want people to pump
You're getting
out
a lot of shitty code.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, sometimes taking away code can be just as valuable or more valuable than just cluttering the space. But yeah, so I wasn't a fan of that. And then I don't really know what to think anymore, to be honest. So I'm just gonna
I
hold on.
follow him. Yeah, I don't follow him at all, so I have no idea what's going on. I haven't paid attention since the election, so
yeah. Nah, I probably were you not there for the whole Doge stuff?
I mean, I knew it was happening. I don't really know what happened. I don't really care. So you can't fix that system. the system is literally built on debt. It's you have to have debt for this monetary system to function. So you can't reduce the debt. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So it's made
Oh,
to
yeah,
create more debt. You can't
yeah,
not have it. It's only going to skyrocket exponentially.
yeah, yeah. Correct.
Yeah,
And
I mean it's designed that way.
yeah, no, and
The
and
fiat
firing a
system
bunch
is
of
made to do that.
yeah, and firing a bunch of federal employees isn't gonna do what you think it's gonna do.
Oh
Or
no, I think he should have done that. They should just like get rid of everybody.
you should.
I'm sorry. Hopefully it didn't affect you.
No, you
Sorry.
should. No, I agree. I do you know how many times I've been in a government building waiting for somebody to move one piece of paper from one pile to another
Yeah.
pile, and I've had to go back 5 times in the last month, because
Yeah.
I can see it sitting there and they just won't do it because they're always at lunch on, by 1 o'clock every fucking afternoon. No, they piss me off and we could do without half of them. But going to every federal agency and, and saying, give me 5 bullet points of what you did last week, and then feeding that through an AI wood chipper
Mhm.
to just start hacking people away. It's just like,
Yeah.
well, and it was tough. Well, I can't. Probably
If
can't.
I was a dictator, I would just say I'd be way worse. I'll say that. Yeah. Not that I want to be
Yeah.
a dictator. I'm just saying, like, if you put me in charge of the federal government and I had
Right.
like full autonomy to do anything I wanted, I would
Uh-huh.
probably get rid of almost all of it.
Yeah.
But I'm an agent of
Yeah.
chaos.
It's what I've always known you as. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would enjoy it. I don't want to hurt people's livelihoods. I'm not like, oh, I would want people to suffer. I'm saying that like that
I'm just
they
saying
don't
I
have
would
an
savor
actual
it like a sweet steak, like a salad dish.
they don't have like a meaningful role, and I feel like they could. Most of those, actually, I can't ascribe meaning to other people's lives, but I don't know how they feel about their life. But I do know that I've seen bureaucrats in many different parts of life, and I've never seen any of them be happy with what they're doing. I've seen a lot of people that are doing things that they enjoy and like are really living even things like a mechanic,
Mhm.
maybe an artist or something, but there is people that are doing something that means something to them,
Yeah.
and that's what I would rather everybody be doing. And when you're doing that, it does not look like you're a bureaucratic paper pusher. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. No.
I'm not saying that some of them don't enjoy their job, but I don't think that that's like what's actually bringing it. So like, let's say you work in like environmental health something, right? Like,
Yeah.
because do you care about the environment or something? That's great. But wouldn't you actually just want to actually just be outside doing something?
It's like,
You know what I mean?
why do you care about the environment so much? You want to be in it? You want to marry it? Yeah. Nah. No, I get what you mean. I mean, yeah. It's almost like you don't believe them when they say that they're happy. Not environmental scientists, but like bureaucrats, right? You're like, I
Yeah.
don't think you know how to be okay.
Yeah, I think that they want the security of the paycheck, and I think that's why all of them are doing it.
Yeah.
I think it's a very safe and secure position to be in. I work for the United States federal government. That feels safe and secure, right? And then you get a paycheck, and then you do it for 20 years, and you don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's a gigantic bureaucratic monster. And what a bureaucracy to me is, there's lots of different definitions that you can point at. But what I see a bureaucracy as is when you have an individual, a bureaucrat is an individual who has no connection to the inputs or the outputs. And so if they are receiving information, but they're not connected to where it's actually coming from, and then they output and it's not connected to where it's actually going to,
Yeah.
you have a bureaucrat. And you can have bureaucratic structures that are, sort of more connected to the inputs and outputs. But the further away you get from that direct feedback, the more bureaucratic it becomes to me. And the problem is that they naturally breed each other. And so they will make up things to do. And then when they've made up too many things for themselves to handle, they go hire somebody else to handle some of the made up things that they made up to do. And then so on and so on. And then you end up having no reason for almost all of it. And so there was a problem 30 years ago that somebody made up a little fucking piece of paper that you have to fill out. And now there's 100 of them and none of them actually do anything.
Were you in the military?
No, it's just, you could watch it. It's the same thing in a university.
I know. Okay. Well,
you got to pay all these guys
do you want to have an unemployment problem, Justin?
Yeah. No, I think that I don't know, and that's actually a good point. And so it's like if we did try to just destroy everything right now, it would actually be a problem, right?
Oh yeah, it'd be a
'Cause-
huge problem. Yeah.
So yeah, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I feel like I want to help people kind of that are ready to move past this. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
into things that they want to do, really, like actually want to do, right? Like, what do you really want to do?
Yeah.
What do you want to learn? Don't worry about the rest of it. What do you want to do? And then, like, let's do that. You know?
You almost sound like a dude that you would go see on a retreat somewhere, you know? Like
Oh, that'd be nice.
I would say on an island, but those are kind of out of style right now.
Out of style.
Yeah. So maybe no islands, but a big boat. So.
I wanted to make, for the longest time, I wanted to just like remake Plato's Academy.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, just
Yeah,
build like
cool.
an actual outdoor academy.
It'll cost $200 million. Yeah.
Yeah. With like, $1 million worth of materials.
Yeah.
The rest in labor, time, 1,000 different agencies. You have to do things privately because you can't get involved with bureaucracies. And that's what Elon Musk was really trying to do. I think was destroy bureaucracy, right? But
Maybe.
you can't. Yeah, I don't. Did they succeed? I actually haven't even checked. How did they get anywhere with that?
It was a mixed bag for sure. I think things have kind of bounced back. Like for instance, a lot of people that I worked with and that I knew, not in the military, got let go, and then like 6 months later they came back.
Got brought back. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of science research has been getting cut, and so there's a lot of physics that's been cut recently.
Yeah, I've heard the science budget has not been then like health science. Well, I guess it's all under science, right? Or actually, I don't know. I don't know if they split budget with like healthcare.
There's a lot of problem with the science funding also because there's a lot of like nonsense. It's the same thing. It's the same thing that's already happened, right? And then it just sort of these systems get built and they protect themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, so I don't concern myself with like I'm not trying to fight it or anything. I'm just going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it doesn't have any real effect on me.
Man, I just want to do that. I want to pull one of those height of COVID moves, and get like 5 remote jobs at the same time and not tell them,
Yeah.
Rack it up real quick and just kind of coast for like 2 years. Yeah. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I could learn so many things because I would be safe and secure and comfortable.
Yeah. I keep trying to think about like how to make money, but every time I do, I get lost into a direction that's not helpful for me.
Yeah.
And when I let go of it, I don't get depressed anymore.
Oh, I
get built up. Like I get a pressure built up where, and then I'm like, I want something to happen. And then I still get that feeling a lot, but I'm sort of like that. And that's sort of a natural rhythm for me. And so it's not necessarily like the worst thing, right?
No, I get like that too. You get a lot of pressure and then you deploy a DNS server when your wife's away. Yeah.
I spend like $300 on a project and then I'm like, God damn it, I wish I wouldn't have fucking done that.
Yeah, I don't do that so much anymore, but I have been Frankensteining a lot of shit together. Pure boredom. Because also I found out, like, I don't know what's going on with my sleep schedule, but I'm just not sleeping. I'm like falling asleep for like an hour or two, then I'm waking up, and then I'm just up.
Where are you eating?
I'm sorry?
Not in the room, but like when are you eating?
When am I eating?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Your food timing?
No, it's chaos. You think food timings?
Oh, they play a huge role, yeah.
Okay.
Big deal.
I'll try.
That's probably the biggest deal, really. Especially if you're waking up.
Interesting. Even if you're not waking up hungry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Blood sugar levels matter a lot. So it's like food timing and sleep timing all matter a lot. Also consistency. And you're probably not being consistent.
Here's my thing,
easy way to...
I've been so productive. Just getting up at random times. Nobody's hitting up my phone. Nobody's awake, Yeah. I just kind of do whatever for like 5 hours and then just feel like shit for the next 12, But I mean, I guess I'll try that. Also, what was I going to say about that? It was something directly related to what we were talking about. I think my brain is dying. Actually, I feel like this happens way too often, dude. Where I'm just blanking out. Like, maybe it's the sleep thing.
That's gonna affect it.
Yeah. You know what?
You
Don't worry
tried
about it.
breathing stuff, exercises.
Like exercise. Nah, I probably should.
Wim Hof.
What?
Wim Hof breathing? No.
Wim Hof?
Yeah, Wim Hof. You never heard of Wim Hof?
Wim Hof, bro. You never heard of Wim
I'm
Hof?
glad we kept the camera on because now I can use that laugh that you just did.
Thanks. Yeah.
No, Wim Hof. He's a Norwegian, or he's from Europe somewhere. Anyways, his whole thing is breathing. Just Google it. You'll see. Yeah,
Okay.
like
I'll check it out.
WIMHOFF. Wim Hof.
Like it.
Or maybe it's is it IM? It's either IM or HIM. But WIMHOF.
WIM. You know I can't
Wim
spell
Hof.
in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, you just type it in. YouTube will know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's very famous.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yeah, those breathing, it's like
Oh.
It's actually hyperventilating.
Yeah.
You do that 30 times, and then you do a breath hold, and then a long exhale, and then another 30 times. And you cyclical. You do it cyclically, and it's really good. Feels good.
Sounds sounds tense, but
no, it's pretty relaxing. It is intense. It is it is intense for your body.
Huh.
But it's good. It feels good.
I'll give it a shot. Yeah.
Yeah. Check it out.
All right. Cool.
All right,
bro.
You go.